I wanted to, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for considering going on this little journey. You know, as a state librarian, I don't know how I know my fellow state librarians. We all work together very closely in COSLA. We're a little club, and we're dependent on each other because we look around and we see we're the only guys in the country doing what we do, and you're the only ones doing what you do in your area. And I guess I'm a little like the little boy that brings home the stray puppy or the stray cat, and brings it to my staff and says, you know, can we keep it? And as we've said about open source software, and I'm just going to ramble a little bit this morning because that's kind of the way I've been thinking about Loblolly all this time. I have no notes, so I don't know why I'm holding that piece of paper, but we've had this idea of open source software being being like you know, the difference between free beer and free kittens. You can enjoy the free beer and walk away from the empty glass, and that's fine. But a free kitten requires a lot of care and feeding, and requires vet bills and all that sort of stuff. That's part of open source software. But we have, and you might ask, why Loblolly? And I say, why not? Why not Loblolly? Loblolly is, for those of you who don't know yet, Loblolly is a ubiquitous pine tree that ranges from New Jersey all the way down through the south and out into Texas. It's the state tree of Arkansas. It's also known as the North Carolina pine. And we wanted to, as we were thinking about this project, as we were beginning to dream about this idea of having open source software that would help us run our library for the blind, or talking book service, or glass, or whatever you call it in your neighborhood, we were thinking in terms of what we had done with the Pines program. That started, and you'll hear more about that, so I'll just hit the high points a little bit. But it started in 98, 99 as a Y2K project here with a single library card for the entire state. And then in 2004, we decided that what we really needed, it didn't seem to be the kind of ILS system that could grow with us. So we had some young men on our staff who didn't know any better and thought, well, we can build an open source software ILS for the entire state of Georgia. And in 26 months, it was built and it was rolled out to all 270 libraries around the state. So we have a single open source ILS that covers the entire state, almost the entire state of Georgia. So there are now over 1,000 libraries that use the evergreen open source software. And so we began to look and think in terms and talk with our colleagues, my colleagues around the state, around the country, and we decided, we thought, well, maybe we could do the same thing, or we could think about the same thing for ILS software in the talking book service. And so this is why you're here. We got a grant from the Institute for Museums and Libraries, a planning grant, and we said, what I'd like to do is to bring this room full of people together and talk and do a reality check. We've been thinking about it and talking about it among ourselves for quite some time, but is it an interesting idea? Is it a good idea? Is it doable? Is it feasible? So that's why we're here. Loblolly, as I said, it carries along the pine, evergreen Sitka. What are some other names that have been used out there in the evergreen community for some time? And loblolly seemed to be a common, a pretty ubiquitous tree in a good deal of the state. And luckily for me, there is a good tie-in, because the Latin name for the loblolly tree is Pinus, and I have to be very careful about how I say that, Pinus taeda. And taeda is a pine torch in Latin. It's a pine torch. And I can't think of a better thing to do than light the dark with a pine torch. So that's my tie-in, and that's why loblolly is here. But I'd really like to have you think about what might be possible. As we talked a lot about what we were doing, we are all losing money, unfortunately, in this environment. We have less money to spend on services. We're trying to do more with less. Is this a good thing for us to be working on? Is this a good thing for us to be spending our time on? Can we develop software that will allow us to improve services? Are there some social networking things that we can build in or plan for the software? Are there opportunities for multi-state collaboration that we haven't been able to take advantage of under whatever we're all using at this point? So all of those things have been tossed around and discussed. So what I would like for us, what my dream is for you to give us ideas about, as we said when they were talking about, when our folks were planning the Evergreen software, we did a series of similar kinds of meetings around our state, and we said, okay, pretend it's magic. If you had a clean slate, what would you like the software to do? What would be best in service to the people we're serving? And so we tried to build those ideas from scratch and build up and do what was doable and do what was feasible, but also keep those dreams in mind in terms of what we wanted it to do, how we wanted it to operate, how we wanted to collaborate among all the different libraries in our state. And I think a similar thing can be done with Loblolly at this point, is to talk in terms of collaboration among states. I'm talking with a couple of neighboring states right now about how we might collaborate, how we might share collections, how we might do things that are perhaps not only cost-saving, but also a little bit innovative and a little bit and provide better services to our clientele. So those are the kind of things that we've been rattling around with, and I don't want to belabor the point, but what I've asked you to do is to take your time to come here and share with us your ideas. I'm not asking you to drink the Kool-Aid. I thought about bringing packs of Kool-Aid and throwing them out on the table, but I thought, well, that might be in bad taste. But no, it wouldn't have been in bad taste in this. But I do want to get your ideas about it, about how this could be developed, about how it could be rolled out, how it could be managed, how we could cooperate perhaps with the vendor community, because there are opportunities even within open source software for people to earn a living and to make money and to be viable companies. So we've invited representatives from the different companies that are involved in providing TBC services, and we have representatives here, and I think they'll be pointed and introduced and as we go along. So everything is sort of open and on the table, and we want your best ideas. We want you to help us debate, help us to think, so that if we decide to take the next step, which would be looking for more grant money, but beginning to think about how we might actually develop a Loblolly ILS system, what would it look like? What features would it contain? How could it be managed? How could it be governed? How could it be sustainable over the long term? Because it's not a project that you develop and you walk away from and it's there. It has to be cared for and nurtured. And back to the puppy idea again, or the free kittens. You sign on for a long time. There's a lot of personal investment that you make in approaching an open source software program. Many of you have had experience in this. Some of you may not have. So we hope we have a collection of people here in this room who think about governance, who think about technology, who think about sustainability, who think about functionality. Not only the backroom operation of what you do day in and day out, but what goes on outside with the client community. What could be done to enhance and carry and increase the value of what you do every day. So that's the kind of thing that I would really love to see come out of this. You've signed on for 3 days. I don't want to sit up here and belabor my ideas. I'm going to fade away in the background. As a matter of fact, the state legislature is in session, and there are things on the table that involve library funding. And so if I disappear for a few hours or a half a day, I'll be down at the state legislature doing my other badge says lobbyist. So some of your state librarians get to lobby, some of you don't have that opportunity. Some of them don't have that opportunity. But if I do disappear for a little while, it's because I've got to take care of my other job. But you're in good hands. Most of our Georgia Public Library Service staff seems to be here right now, and you'll get to meet them. I'm not going to take a moment to introduce them at this point, other than Emily Allman, who raise your hand and say hello, say good morning. Emily, I have given this kitten to Emily and said, make it grow, make it happy. So she has put together this 3-day conference in terms of planning and organizing, so that we feel like we can get the best from you, capture that information, and then give it back to the community or carry it forward in whatever way you want. I'm not asking you to sign on and commit to adopting this software if and when it gets developed. That's for you to consider later on down the road, if and when that happens. We're not asking for a sign-up of early adopters of this. We're simply asking for your best information, your best thoughts about how best to develop, what this ought to look like, what it ought to do, and how it ought to operate. And we hope to take that and do the best we can. If it becomes a product that a state decides at once, or a group of states want to develop this in some cloud function, you know, that again, that might be possible. So at this moment, all things are possible.